Welcome. This is the Rip Griffin Show podcast, a baseball podcast for baseball fans of all ages. Now, here's your host, Rip Griffin.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 61 of the Rip Griffin Show. Before we get into tonight's show, I just wanted to let everybody know to go out and subscribe to the show, rate, review, leave us a comment, tell us how we're doing. That way we can continue to make the show better for y'all. And also to be sure to check in on our YouTube channel. We will be doing YouTube exclusives on topics and whatnot that may come up throughout the week. So usually 10 to 15 minute segments. So be sure to be on the lookout for that. As always, I'm your host, Rip Griffin. And also I have with me my co-host, Brad Chandler. Brad, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, you feeling all right there?
I'm okay. Wearing some Yankees, gear.
You look a little bummed that you're wearing Yankees gear.
I'm not that bummed. I almost didn't wear it, but I was like, you know what? I can't go every episode talking about these other teams and just being that dick. Like, no, you know what? I'm not going to wear the Yankees just because. And so.
Oh, well, we got a special guest with us tonight. Emily Nyman from the Breaking Balls podcast is joining us live on tonight's episode. Emily, how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We thoroughly appreciate you coming on the show, talking some Yankees baseball. It's going to be fun. It's an Astros fan, a Red Sox fan.
I got to say before we get into any further into this, I'm a huge fan of your show. You and your cousin do an excellent job. And I started listening not too long ago, and I was telling Rip, I was like, you know what, dude, you need to check this show out. And we started actually listening, and I'm not sure if you know, but we've called in a couple times, left some comments and whatnot. So great show. Anybody out there want a podcast to listen, another podcast, because definitely listen to ours too.
Absolutely.
But if you want another podcast to listen to, go ahead and check out Breaking Balls podcast.
Definitely call in, get a voicemail, have some questions, and then they'll give a shout out on the podcast. It's awesome. So, but we had some news we're going to go ahead and dive into. One of the big things that kind of came up within the last 48 hours or so is the fact that Rob Manfred tells teams to be ready for a full 162 game season. What do you think about that?
I mean, I feel like, what else is he going to say at this point? You know what I mean? I think that it's not necessarily indicative that there's going to definitely be 162 games, but right now they don't know. So he's got to just say, hey, you know what? Let's just assume 162.
With the CBA at the end of the year, I feel like the players basically have, the owners and Manfred by the balls. So it's like if they were saying like we're not going to get paid any less than 100%. So we want to play 162 games. So he was forced to.
Right. And
plus,
also
he's definitely getting pressure from the ownership too, because they didn't like how this past year went down. Obviously, it was out of
nobody did.
Yeah, exactly. No one did. But so he's getting, Manfred, and this isn't some swan song for him, but he's getting it from both sides. So he's definitely feeling the pressure right now.
Right. And of course, the other big thing is whether or not fans are going to be able to attend. It kind of depends on the cities that have the teams. But one of the things I thought I saw was the fact that, fans might actually have to be, get the COVID vaccine. So they have the little card.
So I actually just read an article, and that's today, that said that that's not true. They're saying that, it depends on like the region. So like Florida, I'm pretty sure the Marlins and the Rays are going to end up having fans because, they got football teams down there that have fans. Texas, your state, they're going to have fans. We had fans in the NLCS and the World Series as well. So Arizona, probably. I just think it's dependent. Like, I'm not going to see anything up in Fenway. I don't think we're going to see anything down in New York. No. Not until like the end of the summer, mid to end of summer, at least. So,
which is fine. At this point, like if we get 162 games and no fans, then it sucks not being able to go to the stadium again. But hey, at least it's a full year and not some third of a year.
Right.
Right.
And of course, they want to try to recoup a lot of that revenue that they lost, but some $3 billion or whatever that they lost, that they said they lost.
Right.
But
So, yeah,
Exactly.
it's the world's smallest violin.
Exactly.
But we'll see what happens. We'll see if Manfred actually stays true to his word and works out some deal to get us some baseball and where we can actually see some baseball. I know that's what we all want. I know I want it. I'm sure you guys want it as well. So
Yeah, I've been watching some Winter League ball, so I've been getting my fix.
You're still getting your fix.
Right.
But, so one of the sad things that happened over this past weekend was the passing of Dodger legend Tommy Lasorda, who was 93, two-time World Series manager with 1,599 wins and a winning percentage of 5.26. It was something out of a shock, honestly. Brad, we kind of did something on Saturday on the YouTube channel. We talked about it briefly.
Is 93 really a shock? I mean, like no. I'm not trying to like crap on the guy because he's a legend, and he meant a lot to baseball in general, not just the Dodgers. But I mean, the guy was 93. He was just battling COVID. He just got out of the hospital. The one thing I think was pretty cool is the fact that he actually got to see the 2020 World Series in person. So.
Yeah, I feel like 93 is sort of borrowed time. No offense to any 93-year-olds who are listening right now.
Nah, I agree 100%. So, sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the surprise part was the fact that he was sick out of the hospital. Then he got out of the hospital, and everybody thought he was doing great. And then next thing, we know, boom, he had passed away. I think that's where the shock came from, at least on my part. But 93 is a great number. He did live a great life, and he came up with he bled Dodger blue. That was his thing through and through.
I remember seeing was it Nomo he was with? He was sitting there telling him, "I bleed Dodger blue." It was pretty funny.
And without him, who knows if we ever get Mike Piazza?
That is true.
He drafted him basically as like a favor to Piazza's dad.
That's right. I forgot all about that.
That's a good point. I mean, he wouldn't, if that didn't happen, he would have hit that significant home run right after the 9/11. So it's kind of crazy how the world works. But definitely our thoughts and prayers go out to Tommy Lasorda and of course Dodger Nation, who mourned the passing of a great legend in Tommy Lasorda. So. But not to kind of take away anything from that, but
transition.
Your Emily, your cousin's team, the Mets, made a significant blockbuster trade just a few days ago.
Uncle Stevie doing his thing.
I know. I mean, that's gotta feel good for every single Met fan. I mean, I know some Met fans that have jumped ship, and I didn't blame them. It's been a very tough existence.
I just recently started like looking at the Mets as like a clown town, and that was before the whole Steve Cohen thing. Like last year, I started like reading in on them and whatnot, and I did a little bit of research about like I was hoping A-Rod was purchasing that team. I was like, I want A-Rod versus Jeter. So, I mean, I thought that would have been perfect, rivalry. But
part of me, I wanted him to purchase the team, but I also didn't want him. I'm like, I'm glad that he's sort of out of the news for the most part and out of on the periphery of like the public eye, where if he was front and center again in New York, it would be like 2004 all over again.
Like part of me wanted that just for the, A-Rod Jeter talk. But once Cohen purchased the team, I don't think I couldn't have been more excited for a team. Like I was like, adios, Wilpons.
Right. Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
I mean, I think they still own like 5%, but whatever.
And they own SNY.
I'm pretty sure Cohen's going to end up doing something with that.
I'm sure he can probably.
Unless it's in the contract.
SCNY, just Steve Cohen, New York.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm sure at some point he's going to just say, you know what, let me have it. How much is it going to cost? Because I'm going to buy it.
Yeah, I just found this money between the cushions of my couch, so let me just buy this for $1 billion from you.
Yeah. A couple $1 billion. Just
So yeah, Francisco Lindor and Carlos Carrasco ended up getting traded to the Mets. They ended up trading. The Mets ended up trading Andres Jimenez, Ahmed Rosario, right-hander Josh Wolf, and outfielder Isaiah Green. So, like, the Indians payroll is what, like 32 million or something like that now? Like, I believe like Garrett Cole actually makes more in a year than that payroll is.
Something like that. I think Trout makes more in a year than their payroll too.
I think Mookie probably does as well.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy though? One player can makes about or not, if not more than one organization's payroll. That's insane.
Why whenever people cite like, oh, the league average salary is $4 million, it's like, well, that's sort of misleading because the people at the top are making so much, the players at the top, that it totally skews that number where you have players that in 1 year are making more than an entire pro team. So puts a perspective on it.
So I want to ask you a question. What are your thoughts? Like, I've been seeing a lot of stuff on Twitter about like a salary cap, like a floor, like a base. Like you can't have a team like the Rays or let's say the Indians who are like 36 million. Do you think there should be like a base where like, okay, you have to at least spend like on your payroll?
I want to say yes, because that sounds good. Like they have to spend a certain amount, but that also means that, okay, well then there's going to be a ceiling. And I don't really like the idea because there's no ceiling on how much money the owners can earn.
Yeah, that's true.
From this product. So you get to a point where then it ends up like the NFL where, yeah, I guess you have better parity maybe throughout the league, but you have guys that are becoming multi-billionaires from owning these franchises, and the players' salaries are, your quarterback makes a lot, but then you have guys that just aren't making that much and it's not guaranteed. So that stuff starts and the players already get, and I know it's tough because they're millionaires, so it's tough to like have sympathy for them, but they already do get taken advantage of to a certain extent. That's why they have to have a union. So then if you put a ceiling and a floor on salary, I don't really see it making this situation any better. I still think owners will collude, and I still think that it won't really help anybody except for the owners, to be honest.
Yeah, I kind of agree there. I was like, yeah, it makes sense. Like, you really want to see the Oakland Athletics spend more than like $46 million. You want to see the Rays spend more. They just traded Snell away. I mean, they let Charlie Morton walk away, basically. I mean, it's upsetting if you're a fan of the team, but
I think one thing that should change, and it's tough because of fan loyalty, and I get it, it's an emotional thing for fans, but it shouldn't be like this. Oh, they're a true fan for sticking it out. Hey, if you're purchasing a product and then that product goes south or is just perennially shitty, you're going to go buy something new, and literally any other product that we consume. But in sports, people will stick it out because like they think it makes them a better fan. It's like, no, you're just making this owner way more rich and making yourself miserable with this entertainment product. So I think it's, after like Mets fans that jump ship after decades of just misery, like that's what you should do. But people, bandwagon fans, people get on them for that. And I think that needs to change among fans, to be honest.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, same thing, with the Astros when they were losing, 100 games a season. A lot of fans up and bailed. And of course, I mean, they all up and bailed after, the whole scandal thing. But still, I mean, yeah, the bandwagon thing, either stick with your team or don't. It's great to be a baseball fan and root for other teams, but if your team just wins, or if a team just wins, just jump off, don't. Yeah. So, but anyways, Kyle Schwarber signs a 1-year deal with Washington Nationals for $7 million with a $3 million buyout and an option for 2022. Does that signing make sense to y'all?
Nope.
I mean, I don't know enough about the Nationals at this point to really say.
Schwarber's a
how it could hurt.
DH. He should have signed with an American League team.
I think everyone's
absolutely.
banking on the DH coming into play. Universal DH, that is.
Yeah, unless the Nats know something nobody else knows.
Owners colluding? Get out of here.
I mean, the thing that kind of scratched my head was the fact is he's a left fielder and they have Juan Soto, you know, the 21-year-old that Joe Buck keeps referring to. So it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know who else they're going to have out there in the outfield other than they probably have a couple. Victor Robles is another guy that's out there, but it seemed like, I think we were kind of talking about this a couple of days ago, Brad, that the Nationals really just wanted to get in on the conversation of everybody with the Mets, with the White Sox, Padres. They wanted to just get out there and make a signing so they can kind of be relevant in the offseason, talks.
I really hope this wasn't their rebuttal to Lindor. That's really bad.
You may remember him from making 5 errors in the 2015 NLCS.
That would be awful.
It really would. And, maybe Manfred will come out of the closet works and say, hey, there's a universal DH this season. And try to, continue to repair his reputation. Which I think is...
Yeah, that's a good joke.
Moving on. Okay, Fernando Tatis, he's not getting a extension, but the talks of him possibly getting an extension. Now, if he gets this extension, is Manny Machado going to be happy or unhappy?
Happy.
Even though that Tatis is making more than him?
I think that when you're making $30 million, like someone making 5 more a year more than you, these guys get it. They understand. Tatis is younger than him, much younger than he was when he reached free agency. So I think that these guys, they want each other to get paid. They're in a union together. Right. They are co-workers. So I don't think there's any sort of, he's paid, he's taken care of. So I can't imagine he's worrying himself by caring about that kind of thing.
So I was reading, I actually just pulled it up here now on The Athletic. So the 11-year, $320 million deal under discussion, according to Pio Deportes, a website in the Dominican Republic, makes little sense for Tatis. An agreement of that nature more likely would be 10 years and the $210 million to $230 million range. That's a big difference.
Yeah.
Sounds like no one knows anything. Sounds like people are just throwing numbers and years out there.
Or maybe the Padres are trying to make it seem like they have more money just to try to entice.
I'm going to make a tweet saying that he's going to make $375 million over the next 12 years.
From a verified source. Be sure to add
I'm the verified source. Screw it.
I think it's a good move for the Padres. They have to lock him down, especially now they've made so many moves that you're going to let him possibly walk in a few years, and especially since he started, he's only 22 or something like that. Yeah. So he's going to reach free agency pretty young. So might as well lock him down, and they're going to make a run for it. So this is the way to do it.
Who knows? He might be the next person to hit 2 grand slams in 1 inning.
Right? Wouldn't that be something? Like father, like son. Against the Dodgers. But so Brad, what's going on in your neck of the woods with Boston? I hear that there's some chatter going on.
There's way too much chatter and a lot of interest. It's just like Chaim Bloom is interested in this person and that person, and they're showing a lot of interest. And today, Andrew Benintendi's on the chopping block. Makes little to no sense. I mean, he hasn't been good in the past 2 years. He started going downhill at the end of 2018. It's like sell low. what are you going to end up getting? They're talking to Dombrowski, an ex-Red Sox executive. They're talking to Sherrington, ex-Red Sox executive. They're talking to Click, who is a Tampa Bay Rays executive with Chaim Bloom. So I don't know what's going on. There's no names being brought up. It's just Benintendi.
Wow.
Well, would anyone even know the names that were brought up? What kind of return would he even get at that
Probably
point? You know what I mean?
not. Like, the only thing that I could think of is, like, if you're going to trade Benintendi, get some prospects, more than 2, you're probably going to have to package him up with somebody else. Our farm system isn't all that great. We're ranked number, I think, 25 in the farm system. We have Casas, who's probably right there. He's like in our top prospects. Downs, who we traded Mookie for. I really don't know.
I have to be honest, as a Yankees fan, I'm happy to hear this despair and confusion in Red Sox Nation.
Yeah, Chaim Bloom really is like one of those guys where you're like, what are you doing? What's going on? Like, we're not used to, like, being behind closed doors, not knowing what exactly is going on. I know tomorrow is the Kluber showcasing. He's pitching for a bunch of teams. I know the Red Sox are going to be there. I know their backup plan is Odorizzi. People really want Bauer on the Red Sox. I do not. I did at first, but after, like, looking at his stats over the last 9 years, I'm pretty much like, nah, you guys can take him somewhere else.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Bauer's, well, I mean, I would hope that he would just sit out this season. Not going to happen probably, but some team's going to be dumb enough to pay him what the
He's entertaining as hell. I'm not going to say.
Oh, yeah, he is. Oh, he is, but I think he's using that to build up his brand, but really has no desire to actually, sit there and go through, hey, he's interacting with the fans. We'll say that he is, but it's
he's
more of a
his momentum.
Yeah, but he's turning it into a game though. And that's the frustrating part is we want him to just sign somewhere. I mean, it's going to be probably March before, or even April before he signs somewhere, unless he pulls
the
a
problem
Dallas.
with the qualifying offer. You got these guys that got the qualifying offer, then nobody's going to give up a draft pick for a guy who wants to sign for 1 year. I know he said that he'll be willing to sign for more than 1 year, which I really want to see him sign for more than 1 year, because the rumor is he has a bet with one of his friends that if he does sign for a multi-year contract, he's going to let him, like, shoot him in the balls with, like, a BB gun or something. And I'm super, like, okay with seeing that.
Yeah, I think Bauer is one of those guys that everyone wants him on their team until he's on their team. And then unless he's 2020 Bauer, which chances are he's not going to be, because that's just, like, unsustainable, that level, that they're not going to like when he's in the post-game press conference and he's saying, well, I did my job. So when he's doing that kind of shit that he did during the playoffs with the Reds. So everyone wants him until he's there, and then he's being himself, and it's for 162 games and not, 2.5 months or whatever this flash in the pan season was. It's a lot.
I have a feeling that he's probably going to pull a Dallas Keuchel and wait until June or July to finally sign. And the Keuchel thing kind of really put him, in a bad position financially. I mean, he's forgetting the most out of that contract. But I have a feeling a team's going to come after whatever the deadline is, July, June, whatever, and say, here, we'll go and offer you this deal. It's going to be significantly less than what he probably would have gotten in the offseason. And we're going to see Bauer probably somewhere around June or July, maybe August. That's my prediction. So? What's that?
I said, you think so?
I think so.
I wait it out.
Oh, I think he will. I think he's waiting for the perfect team, the perfect scenario, the perfect place, whatever you want to call it. And then when that place does come available, or even if a team needs starting pitching that's in a race, he's going to sign there. I don't see him actually going through the whole spring training thing. I think he's going to wait it out.
I think the Angels, honestly, somebody on the West Coast is going to take him.
Well, we'll see. Maybe his agent Rachel Luba. Maybe she can work out something and get him into an organization so maybe he can focus on baseball instead of momentum. That's just me. Sorry, Trevor, if you're watching. Yeah. But so here's an interesting topic here. DJ LeMahieu. I think you're pretty familiar with this guy, Emily.
I've heard of him.
He's the best DJ in the Bronx.
Oh my goodness!
Right,
wow.
I'll show myself out the door now.
How long have you been waiting to do that?
I actually just posted it up on Twitter not too long ago.
No, the whole wiki, whatever you just did.
Oh, that there? That was just off the.
You've been waiting
all right,
to do that.
Let's just go on.
Okay. Let's talk about DJ LeMahieu. Rumor is that he's a candidate for third base for the Dodgers. And I kind of have him kind of in the next segment as well. We can kind of go a little bit more in depth. Do the Dodgers go out and try to sign him, or do they try to re-sign Justin Turner?
I think that those rumors are more than likely they're being put out by DJ LeMahieu, his team, to put pressure on the Yankees. Like, oh, the Mets were interested at first, and then no, the Red Sox are in. Oh, now the Dodgers. So it's like all the teams that the Yankees are be like, wait, he can't go there. Let's sign him quick. Like as if that's ever really worked.
Not for anything. I think DJ's a great baseball player. I would love to have him on the Red Sox, and it would totally rebuild a little bit of flame for the rivalry. It doesn't make sense for the Red Sox.
It only makes sense for a team that is in like a win now in their window right now because he's older. So that kind of narrows that field down.
The team I think would be more likely to sign him if it's not the Yankees. I don't know if I just cut out there. But...
Yeah, you did.
You did.
Okay, yeah, it was probably it would probably end up being the Blue Jays.
Okay.
But the thing is like they're one of those teams that's like, yep, they're talking to everybody. They're showing a lot of interest in these players, Springer, So I don't know, man. I know a lot of Yankee fans are like drooling and like bitching and moaning about, Cashman's not doing it and Hal needs to sell the team because he doesn't know how to run the team. It's like they just gave Cole like $30 million for the next 8 to 9 years.
Yeah.
It's a poker game too. That all these, the Blue Jays, like you said, they're putting their hat in like every ring that they're sort of showing interest in everybody. And I think that that's also by design because all these GMs and owners, they want someone else to make the first move because then that will set the market. So they're trying to put pressure on each other saying, oh, we're interested in this guy. So then other teams start to sweat and the agents do the same thing. That's why this time of year is tough because you hear things, but it could just be total BS.
Right.
DJ's already he already blinked, to be fair, Ed. He just wrote in that by saying that he's going to go back around to other teams. That was said this past week that he's now going to circle back around. So he's already gone to other teams and no one's really shown interest as of now. So he's now going back.
It seems like the only team that's actually given him an offer was the Yankees. And I believe it was $76 million. And Cashman was like, this is what we're going to offer you. And then his camp was like, well, can't you give us more? Can't you give me more? And Cashman basically was like, hey, well, why don't you go check and test the waters and see if, see what other people are going to offer you, what other teams are going to offer you. My thing is, and you've said this on your show, is, I mean, how old is he going to be next year? 33?
In July,
right?
yes.
So he's going to be 33. He's looking for, I think, 4 to 5. So let's just say 5. But either way, you're going to sign this guy until he's 37 at the least, 38 at most, I guess. And once he hits like 36, at the end of 36, he hits 37. He's not going to be playing like he is now. He's not going to be playing like he did last year or the year before. And then everybody's going to be like, oh, I can't believe we spent that money on him.
Especially because people want the Yankees to spend like Robinson Cano money on him. And it's like, listen, DJ LeMahieu has been great, but he's been elite for 871 plate appearances. He had 3,800 plate appearances that preceded those. And he was good, obviously, but he was only as good as a 2-year, $24 million contract.
Yeah, so, and they viewed him as a utility guy.
Right. You know, they got lucky or you know, I'm sure it was way more than luck. I'm not giving them enough credit, but he's overperformed and it's been amazing. But to now all of a sudden say, well, now he deserves a 5-year, $125 million contract. It's like, for what? 871 plate appearances? Really? That's what we're going to do for a second baseman?
Right.
I mean, it's a little crazy to me.
I don't know. I've said this to you before. We've chatted about this. I think they need to move on from DJ. I think they need to move Torres back over to second. I believe that they should go after, I believe his name's Andrelton Simmons from the Angels.
The Angels.
Grab him. Great defensive player. That's what you guys need at shortstop right now. He doesn't really have a great bat, so you can put him down at the 9th spot. And I've said this to other Yankee fans, people that I work with. I'm like, you could put Hicks as your leadoff man, and then you've got bats and up and down that lineup, and then you could put Sanchez as number 8, and it would still be a decent lineup.
It really boils down to just health of the players that,
Right. I know the Yankees have had a lot of issues lately with staying healthy. Judge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Judge
Stanton.
Right. So when those guys, DJ's been great in the last year and a half, and it was really really at the forefront for us fans because those guys were hurt. So if you can keep those guys on the field, which is obviously proving to be a little bit of an issue, but if they can keep them on the field, the team won't miss DJ as much as I think the fans think they will. It's just that we've had DJ and nobody else really for the last few years. So the idea of losing him, people forget that, hey, these guys are still on the team. And if they can stay on the field, they are elite. And there's their level of that they've proven that they can perform over, Stanton a decade or so. That's the level that you're going to get, not hoping that someone continues to overperform for another year, like someone like LeMahieu. Because then if he regresses, people will be beside themselves.
So that question, kind of the reaction of the Yankees fans, I actually had that in the next segment. But we're going to go ahead and dive into that now. No, it's okay. No, that's perfectly fine. So we'll kind of just jump into the Yankees now. But, every offseason, of course, this offseason has not been a normal offseason like we've seen in the past. Of course, last season they went out and picked up Garrett Cole for that 9-year, $324 million deal. So, and then there's also, Steinbrenner's, Hal Steinbrenner, Brian Cashman have also kind of, said, hey, we're going to try to, cut back on payroll. Is that something that, is true? Do you believe that's true? Do you think the Yankees are trying to not spend as much money considering what they've done in the past?
Yeah, I'm sure that is. I'm sure they are definitely trying to save money because that's how they make money. So they want to make more money, and I get it, but it sucks as a fan because they have the money, they're billionaires. So
right.
What the hell?
So I was actually talking about this with some Yankee fans on Facebook, and I did a little bit of research, and I guess the Yankees lost the most money in revenue in the last season, in the 2020 season. It was around $400 million. And I don't know if it's true.
Right. I was going to say supposedly.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if it's true, but if it is, that's a shit ton of money.
Well, yeah. I mean, of course, they have what is called gate revenue. So, whatever team like the Yankees will probably bring in the most money each season. All that money gets distributed amongst the other 29 teams. So if, say, the Orioles, for example, they lost out on a lot of that gate revenue. So if the Yankees weren't bringing in any money, then yeah, I can understand, where the hurt's coming from. But they they do bring in a lot of money, and I think this season hurt. Just this COVID season really hurt everybody.
I would definitely be more understanding if owners, especially the Yankees, they've owned the Steinbrenner families own the Yankees now for 40 years or so. They've been making record profits like every single year since like the year 2000 or 2002. Every year the owners make more and more money. So this is the first year in who knows how long that teams like the Yankees have actually lost money. And they're trying to be like, we lost so much money. It's like, yeah, but you've made so much over the last 20 years. I'm supposed to feel bad for you because you lost a fraction of what you've made in 1 year, and I'm supposed to say, oh, you know what? I totally agree. Then, then cut the team, cut this guy. Don't sign him. Don't spend that there. So it's weird. It's a weird situation. Everyone is always on the side of the owners. For some reason, I don't get it.
Gotta love the owners.
Yeah,
and I say that with sarcasm, but I mean, it's just interesting. The Yankees are always the most. I guess they're the big brother to all these other organizations because that's they've been so dynamic through their inception. The 27 rings, the postseason, the pennants, all that great stuff. So they're the team that a lot of fans will go to look at, and it's just interesting to actually possibly speculate whether or not they're going to try to save money,
which is hilarious. Sorry.
Hello. But we
Is
kind
that
of
a
touched.
train?
Yeah.
We kind of touched on DJ LeMahieu and kind of what would happen if he was to leave and kind of the fan reaction. But they have a guy at second base in Tyler
Wade?
Tyler Wade, yeah, drafted in fourth round, in 2013. If the Yankees are unable to re-sign LeMahieu, is he a guy that can possibly come in and step up in second base?
Wade is a plus fielder, so defensively, yes. I mean, LeMahieu's like arguably the best defensive second baseman in the league, or one of them. But Wade is very good, but he's very quick on the bases too, but he cannot hit. Oh my God. He is terrible at the plate.
Alrighty then. I kind of look at these prospects and these guys that can possibly, come in and step up if a key player like LeMahieu was to leave. It's kind of the same thing with the Astros. They got a couple guys in the farm system right now that could probably come up and step up in 2021, but it's like, well, can they? They probably can, but the numbers and all that stuff aren't really there. So it's just interesting. I kind of go ahead.
I think he could if Stanton, Judge, Sanchez, if these guys stay healthy. I think that is really contingent on their health. That if you have them in the lineup, for 140 games plus, then you can sacrifice someone like LeMahieu and have Wade in the lineup every now and then or in the field. But if they're hurt and then you just have Tyler Wade, he's not going to be your superhero.
That makes sense. But so the key player, Aaron Judge, is up for free agency come in 2023. If let's say that was almost. I'm glad I caught myself. The Yankees, if the Yankees re-sign DJ LeMahieu, let's just say hypothetically, you still have Giancarlo Stanton, of course, Garrett Cole's on the roster. You've got Gleyber Torres, Gary Sanchez. Is that right, Brad? Sanchez?
It was a typo. Come on, bro.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
As soon as I saw it, I was like, do I delete it? I was like, you know what? I'm going to own it. I'm going to own it. I'm like, whoever Sanchez is.
I didn't even see it, to be honest. I was like, oh, S at the front, Z at the back. It's spelled right. It's Sanchez.
Yeah, as soon as I saw it like a minute or so later, and I was just like,
happens to the
whatever. I'm just gonna own it. Screw it.
I had to do that. I've been waiting to do that. So
yeah, it's Gary Sanchez.
Okay,
he's the long lost cousin of Gary Sanchez. Maybe he can actually hit and be defensive.
If. But anyways, those guys are on the roster. Will the Yankees be able to re-sign Aaron Judge with those guys still in the lineup? Because if they say they do, that's going to put them over the luxury tax.
I don't think that matters to the Yankees. Come on.
If they're going for a World Series, I don't think they'll be too concerned with that, which they are. That's what they're saying. So I think that if they sign LeMahieu to a $20+ million average annual value, then I think it's safe to assume that, yeah, they are going to then sign Judge and they're just going to go for it and luxury tax be damned.
Okay.
I feel like it would be stupid on them not to sign Judge. I mean, they have the judge's chamber. They kind of like started building around him. I understand he's got the injuries and whatnot, but he's basically like he's a New York Yankee. Like I personally, I could see probably one of the other guys being another team, but Judge now.
Yeah, I agree. And also, let's not forget that one of his injuries, he was hit with a pitch and broke his wrist. So it's not like every stint and that was his longest stint in the IL. And in 2020, they were clearly playing games with the lineup because Judge even himself at some point during that short season, he had a press conference which was like, I feel fine. Like, I think that if this was a regular season, I'd probably be playing. But because they expanded the playoffs and they only had a short amount of time to get there, all these teams were getting in. The Yankees are thinking, you know what? There's no reason to rush these guys back because who gives a shit about this season at the end of the day? And that's how a lot of these teams played it. And I'm not trying to say that they didn't go for it. The Dodgers won fair and square. It was a World Series, so I'm not even trying to take that away. But there is an element of, Judge and Stanton, they were on the IL this year. But if it were 162 games, would they have been there for that long? I don't necessarily think so. So
I just wanted to raise something up. So that's actually how I ended up meeting you. It was during I believe I was roasting Stanton, and you were like, "Oh, he's the best hitter on the team right now in the playoffs." I'm like, "Yeah, he's swinging at shit right now." And you literally quoted me, and you were like, "Yeah, he's hitting shit," as he just hit a bomb off of somebody from the Nats. And I'm like, "All right, I'm just gonna go back over here."
Yeah, the playoffs were very exciting with Stanton going off. I mean, obviously it sucked that they lost when they did, but seeing him just play like everyone knows that he can, especially because he gets so much hate from his own fan base, it was awesome.
I think what ended up starting the hatred was how many strikeouts did he have? Like in his first 2 weeks, he had 30 something strikeouts. It's something ridiculous. He had the most strikeouts for a guy for the first year with the Yankees or something. It was ridiculous. It was pretty bad. I think it had to do with the fact that he came from the Marlins and they didn't really have
fans,
a fan base. And then you get pushed from a fan base that has last year they actually made money, and he goes from that team to a team that makes billions of dollars a year. So he's not used to playing in front of diehard fans.
I also think that that's the style player. You know what I mean? He's not going to hit 300, and that's fine because he's going to slug 550. So I really don't give a shit if he strikes out as opposed to grounding out or flying out. It's they're going to make out more often than they don't. So when people get super hung up on strikeouts, it's hey, you know what? I don't want this guy to really change his swing. He is getting fooled on pitches. It happens. But if he's hitting 38, 40 home runs a year, who cares if he has 200 strikeouts? Who cares?
So you ended up skipping over a question there, Rip.
Oh, I did?
No, it was me. We had I had one more question in the news.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. No, and I didn't want to backtrack. So we'll dive into the Yankees. But kind of the last part of the news was, Liam Hendriks signing with the Chicago White Sox for.
Oh, that wasn't what I was talking about, man.
What question was that?
Do you think that the Yankees fans are envious of the Mets and the new owner, Steve Cohen?
I think
yeah.
In the way that a little kid is envious when
Like he's spending the money we should be spending. We should have been going after Francisco Lindor. We should have gotten Carrasco.
Right. And it's just it's short-sighted because obviously this new owner for the Mets is awesome and that Lindor move was great, but they've been horrible for the last 30 years for the most part. So I will take watching that and the history that I've gotten to witness as a Yankee fan over being a Met fan right now. But yeah, I mean, it's awesome.
At least something's happening.
I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel a little envy when I saw that move go down.
What were your feelings about the Padres moving Darvish or getting Darvish and Snell? Wait, hold on. I know your thoughts on Snell, but
I was psyched. I mean, if for no other reason than, and this wasn't some super analyst, this wasn't like a super baseball analyst take, but when they signed Machado, I said that it's clear that they're going to make some moves now. They're not just going to out of nowhere make that signing like that. People were literally calling me an idiot for that. Like, doesn't mean anything. And
it was a horrible take.
Yeah. And now look what's happening. Oh, they're building a winner around him. I can't believe it. It's like it was the most predictable thing on the planet. So I'm happy for them. I'm happy for Padres fans, and Padres are a fun team to watch. They're my West Coast team that I watch after the Yankees are done.
Yeah, it was almost when they signed Machado, I guess I kind of had higher expectations that they would start to turn it around right away. But of course, obviously they didn't. They kind of struggled going into that 2019 season. And then of course 2020. And then once they started getting, Snell, Darvish, building up the rotation, Clevenger, which, I don't understand. They re-signed him. He's going to be out for the next year with Tommy John. But, in 2022, they're going to have control of all of these guys. And they're going to
stay healthy.
Yeah, health, obviously. But, the Padres are in it to win it. They want to win now. And I can't wait to see what's going to happen out there in San Diego. I really think they're going to take the Dodgers and win the West. We're going to see them in the postseason for the next few seasons at least, maybe even in a World Series. So I'm excited for the Padres. It's about time they actually started making moves. I think the last time they were in the playoffs was 2006. Of course, the World Series was against your Yankees. 98, yeah.
An unfortunate year for the Padres to make it to the World Series against like the greatest team ever assembled. On roids too, probably.
Right. But yeah, my apologies for skipping over that question. I just completely overlooked it. So, but
yeah, you ended up skipping over the Hendricks thing too, man.
Well,
it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, why have notes when you're just going to skip over stuff, right?
All right. But, so we do another little segment. We do a little bit of like the history of the team that we're covering. So we do like when they were founded and things like that. So Rip, I'll let you take this.
So the Yankees were founded in 1901 in Baltimore. That's interesting. They became the New York Highlanders from 1903 to 1912, and then they are now the current New York Yankees from 1913. 56 playoff appearances, 40 pennants, and of course we mentioned those rings, 27 of those. That sounds pretty nice, does it?
I don't think Yankee fans will ever like not say 27 until they get that 28th.
Pretty much.
I think as a Red Sox fan myself, like hearing, we got 27 rings. It's like, dude, how many of those rings did you actually see? You saw 5, or you saw one more than I did?
I mean, it doesn't get much more poverty franchise than having to make cutoff years and not counting some championships. If you guys have to do that to make yourselves feel better, be my guest. Cut as many as you want out. Let's start in 1970, whatever.
Yeah.
Still got more.
Yeah, but how many did you watch? How many were you around for? Oh, we got 27. Come on.
Come on now.
Still more than you.
I throw my hat down now.
He's frustrated.
That's all it took.
But I mean, the Yankees are such an iconic organization. Of course, going back to to Babe Ruth and to Yogi. Do what?
Nothing.
Oh, I thought you said something. Sorry.
You were just singing along to No No Nanette. the musical that they traded Babe Ruth to fund or something.
Yeah.
That was the worst. I was reading about that, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
So yeah, and of course, I mean, Babe Ruth, Yogi, Mickey, your boy A-Rod, Derek, the captain. A lot of greats have graced.
Yeah. What's up?
Pinstripes.
Like you're gonna forget my dude?
Oh, hey, Don Maddie, my apologies. Yeah, I'm just kind of going off. You're busting my balls again, aren't you? For me
Yes.
busting your balls. Okay, that's fine. No, props.
I'm breaking your balls.
Ah.
I'm sure John was like, if he hears this, he'd be like, "Oh, breaking balls."
He always corrects me. I'll always say something else that's like a different term, and he's like, "Break balls." I'm like, "Oh yeah, the name of the pod. I could have used that."
So that's just a little bit on the Yankees. Of course, a lot of rich history within that organization throughout the years. A lot of great players have graced the pinstripes. So kind of the last segment of the show is kind of where we take a couple players that we put out on a Twitter poll that are voted on, and we'll kind of talk a little bit about their history, stats, whatnot. But since we got you on tonight, and your player is Alex Rodriguez, we're going to jump to him first.
And she's a historian, so we don't need to do anything. We'll just let her take it away.
Okay.
I'm just going to put my feet up and relax now.
It all began on July 27th, 1975.
I've never seen somebody who is as big as big an A-Rod fan as you are. Like, I loved A-Rod when he played for Seattle. That baby face. Like, I'm watching some videos a few weeks back, watching him with Seattle. It was the big Randy Johnson was still playing for them, and they were going. What year was it? I don't remember what year it was, but yeah, it was his rookie year.
96. Yeah,
so it was his rookie year, and I'm seeing him, and I'm like, wow, dude, he had that baby face, he had that smile and everything. So I loved him. Then. I think I started giving the A-Rod hate when I think he was talking to the Red Sox before he actually signed with your Yankees, wasn't he?
Yeah, he actually was going to make a deal with the Red Sox where he was going to take less money on his contract, and the union and the league vetoed the trade because he was the highest paid and best player in the league. So they weren't going to let him do that, because then that affects the market for every other player. If he then takes less money, then drives everyone else's salaries down. So it got vetoed, and the rest is history.
Kind of happy.
History. It's pretty checkered, but the rest is history.
I'm not trying to bring up any bad blood here, but my all-time favorite moment with A-Rod happens to be with Tech.
Oh yeah, the mask on.
Yeah, so he's basically
still wearing his mask to this day.
He was he just got over COVID, I believe.
Oh, well, I'm glad he's okay. Don't wish any sickness on him.
But yeah, it's like you could just hear A-Rod saying, I'm not gonna say it, but he's dropping F-bombs. And what did you expect? I mean, you're gonna sit there and say that to a guy right to his face. You're gonna get punished.
My favorite A-Rod moment in Fenway that I can remember off the top of my head right now was off who was that pitcher? Dempster?
Oh, when he threw at him?
And then A-Rod took him deep, and
yeah, he took him deep. I remember that. I thought it was funny. It was
I loved it.
You threw at him, and then he took you deep, dude. I mean, what was funny? What year was that?
2013, because it was after he got caught, and he was then appealing. Because then in the post game, it was actually one of the moments of A-Rod not being a total tool. It was a quick 30-second thing during that post game presser, or a few days later they suspended Dempster for that.
Yeah.
And one of the reporters asked A-Rod, what do you think of him getting suspended? And A-Rod was like, I am not the person that should be commenting on anyone's suspension right now. Oh, I'm not doing that. And then moved on to the next question.
I'm gonna let you take away from the A-Rod stuff, but another thing about A-Rod, I think that I'm probably one of the only people in the world that actually enjoys his commentary.
I mean, I do too. Like, sure, sometimes it's painful and cringy, but a lot of times he's an oddball. And that's been very clear from basically the get-go. So him being like a cheesy oddball, and I think is par for the course, and it doesn't ruin it for me. It does for other people, and I get it. But besides his like boomer takes when he'll be like, they should sack bunt more, when he never fucking sacked bunted at all in his career. Besides that stuff, that stuff gets me nuts. But everything else is whatever. It's fine. He's better than Smoltz, who I can't stand.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Smoltz and Joe Buck together. No, bad combo.
I can't stand Buck.
That's why I made the reference of Juan Soto, the 21-year-old, when he completely, kept reminding us during that 2019 World Series. But so A-Rod played 22 seasons. Of course, we all know 12 of those were with your Yankees, Emily, 7 with the Mariners, and 3 with the Rangers. The Rangers deal just did not make sense to me, in my opinion. It just seemed like they were just trying too hard to try to get the best player on the market, and it kind of backfired because obviously he left shortly after and went to New York. But it was kind of still a head scratcher for me, at least. But so let me ask you this, Emily: if he had continued playing, do you think he would have surpassed Babe Ruth in the home run record?
I think I think maybe. You mean like just for the rest of 2016, or also then 2017 too? So
Yeah,
I think he had 1 year.
I mean, because he sits at fourth all time. And
Yeah, 696. So I think that if they had given him and giving him playing time, assuming that he's playing at least 100 games, I think that he would be able to hit, what was that, 19 19 home runs to
right.
pass Ruth. So.
Yeah, it's just interesting, if a player would have kept playing for just a few more games or another year, what the record books would look like today. It's just, 696 is nothing to it's a phenomenal accomplishment, especially within 22 years of his playing career.
And he missed an entire season.
Exactly. And just still come out fourth all time. That's pretty phenomenal.
And I did appreciate, even though when he retired, I was obviously pretty upset, especially that whole season. I was upset with how the Yankees, they weren't playing him, and the lead up to it was just painful. So part of me was when there were rumors that he was going to like join the Marlins or another team was going to pick him up to hopefully for him to get those last 4 home runs to reach 700. And the A-Rod stan in me wanted that because I didn't want it to be over. But I'm so glad that those were nothing but rumors and it didn't happen, because it was like the one shred of his legacy that is like a positive thing at the end. That it's like, hey, you know what? At least he didn't go out like A-Rod of yore, which was totally selfish and self-absorbed and just obsessed with legacy and his numbers, where the A-Rod that was not humbled by getting caught with PEDs absolutely would have went to some other team and tried to stick it to the Yankees, but he didn't. So he just rode off into the sunset, and I appreciated that as an A-Rod stan.
14-time All-Star from 96, 98, 2000 to 2008, and 2010, 2011. It's a 3-time MVP, can't read my computer. 2-time Gold Glove winner, 10-time Silver Slugger. And obviously, he's a 2009 World Series champion. So, a historic career for A-Rod and the Yankees. Lots of great accomplishments, within his career. So, I can understand why.
Hey, Rip?
Yep.
You're forgetting a couple things. Go ahead and scroll down.
Oh, he's a 3-time Major League Player of the Year from 96, 2002, and 2007. He also won a batting title in 1996 with a 358 batting average. That was his first year in the league.
96.
What was that?
He technically, if you look at his numbers and who won, he probably could have, if all things were fair, he could have probably walked away with at least 5 MVPs. He got robbed in 2002. He could have easily won in 96. He could have easily won, I think in 2000. And that section of his career, he could have won like a couple straight, but they gave it to Miguel Tejada instead for some reason.
Yeah, I just got a comment on Twitter that A-Rod's best all-around years were with the Mariners. Something to behold at shortstop there. So,
yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. I think that's a fair assessment. He was right out the gate. He was just unbelievable. His prime was like 15 years long.
So let's just ask, who's the better player for the Yankees? Not just the Yankees as a team. You talked about it on your show. We're going to talk about it here. A-Rod or Jeter?
I mean,
now we know from your show, and anybody who actually knows baseball knows Jeter's a better Yankee.
Right.
But who's the better player?
I mean, and it's A-Rod. This isn't a knock at Jeter. Jeter is still one of the greatest to play his position, and one of the best offensively shortstops of all time, and bona fide Hall of Famer, a Yankee great. But A-Rod was next level.
I'm okay with that. for our listeners on the podcast, we just had a comments coming through from our F8 or 7 Hall. I'm assuming on Twitter. I want to hear Emily talk about ripping apart Hubs from Barstool. Yeah.
I mean, it all started as like a tongue in cheek, he took that tweet or whatever, and whatever. I'm flattered if someone takes something that they thought was funny that I said and they try to use it. That's great. But then he started to deny it. And it's like, listen, dude, we have the receipts. This is the fucking internet. Okay. Like, I don't know why you're denying it. And then he stopped responding after that. Cause he was like, oh, what do you think? You're the only one who ever thought of that? And you thought I remembered after a year? I said, well, what about 4 days? Cause he had retweeted something that I said and then said basically the same thing. And he never responded after that. Whatever. It was weird. He DM'd me and he was being cool for a few minutes. And then he was like, I don't care what you think. I don't care. And it's like, obviously you do care because I didn't tag you and I did not DM you. Yet here we are. So
he definitely seems kind of like I'm going to say dork. Like I've seen Carabas like rip him apart. I think it's absolutely hilarious. And yeah, the video of Carabas and who was it? I think it was Dallas Braden at the Dodgers World Series, where it was the Red Sox and Dodgers, and they're just like right in his face. Priceless.
Yeah. And I got no beef with Hubs. It's all fun. It's Twitter. You know what I mean? Like it's not like he's taking money out of my pocket or anything. It's just a funny thing, and people that are in places like Barstool and stuff, they forget that it's fun for people to punch up, as they say. So it's easy for, it's like, consider yourself lucky that you're someone that people that you don't even know talk about and try to like, put into a spot where it's like, oh, I caught you. So there's a lot to be said for that. So Hubs, I don't have any hate for him. It was just funny.
I actually listen to his show every once in a while, and he's knowledgeable, he knows what he's talking about. Some of his takes are horrible, though.
Paid for it.
So, we've got one more little segment. We had a player of the week. We ended up putting a poll up. We had Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Gary Sanchez, and Gleyber Torres, which I was shocked that he didn't get any. He got like no love. He got very little love. It seemed like it was all, let's talk about Sanchez or Judge, and Judge won like by a smidge. So let's hear from the Yankee fan, the Yankee podcaster, the expert. Let's hear a little bit about Judge. What were your thoughts when Judge got brought up to the major league roster?
that was a tough. He came up basically. He and then Gary Sanchez. They came up right after A-Rod retired. Like A-Rod retired, and then Judge was in the lineup like the next day. And his 2016 was not that great. He struck out a lot, but he obviously became the player that the Yankees knew that he was in 2017, where he had one of the best rookie seasons of all time. And he's just been. I'm looking forward to. I hope Judge is a Yankee for his whole career. Injuries be damned, and I'm looking forward to seeing the sort of career that he puts together, and hopefully it's in pinstripes.
Yeah, I definitely don't see Judge. We've already talked about it, but I can't see Judge in another uniform. So speaking of Judge in his rookie year, in 2017, he was up for the Rookie of the Year, or not Rookie of the. I think he was up for MVP. Am I correct?
Yeah, he lost to Altuve.
Yeah. What were your feelings on that? Rip, you can just be quiet over there, Mr. Astros fan.
After A-Rod lost that 2002 MVP to Miguel Tejada, they can't hurt me anymore. At that point, I was just like, whatever. Like, this is so, like it's a subjective thing. And Altuve obviously had a great year that year, so it's not like it was a total like, what the hell? Like, Altuve was great. Judge, I think, was better and probably deserved it, but it's tough. The writers, they don't want to give this guy the two awards. That they have these weird arbitrary lines that they'll draw in the sand. And it's like, well, no, I'm not voting for him because we're giving him Rookie of the Year. And it's like, well, why not? And there's no answer to that. So I think that the cards were stacked against Judge as soon as he got Rookie of the Year.
Actually, so before we end up going, I forgot about this. I have a giveaway.
Oh, that's right.
I have a giveaway. We'll end the segment in a few moments, but I have a 2017. It's nothing fancy at all, but it's a 2017 Home Run Derby Aaron Judge baseball card. We will decide on the winner. We'll go ahead and stay focused or whatever. We'll give this away to one lucky person next week on our podcast, and we will. All we need you to do is follow us, and we'll post the card up on our Twitter and just retweet it. We got anything else, Rip?
Well, I just wanted to just kind of add this little tidbit here to the Aaron Judge segment. I interviewed a guy. His name is Andre Dubosc. He was a 38th round pick by the Yankees in 2014. He played with Judge. He played with Sanchez, and I had the opportunity to talk to him just briefly at a tryout here in my hometown. He said that Judge is every bit of what we see on TV now. He's the real deal. I had a chance just to ask him, just what was it like playing with them? He said it was phenomenal watching him just hit bombs in the low minors. And he understood why he made it up so quick, and we've all seen it, just based on his productivity given since 2016. So, I mean, I hope, just like Brad, I agree. I hope that Judge stays in pinstripes for his entire career. It's very rare we find a player that will stay in one organization, and I hope Judge is one of those that will stay with the Yankees for his entire career.
Likewise, so. I mean, this game is so hard that you see guys that the pick of the litter, so to speak, for a draft in the first rounds that could end up never making it to the league, or they are the best player of their class, but they only end up being a journeyman. You know what I mean? So right. I think that people have to keep in mind how difficult the game is, and teams aren't just going to turn their back on a talent like Aaron Judge, who was able to prove it at this level because he's missed some time in right. seasons where they weren't really ready for their World Series run. They didn't have all their pieces. So to think that the Yankees should be like, nah, forget Judge because of that, that's just not how these teams are run. And this sport is managed at all. You have to give him a chance.
Absolutely. Brad, you got anything else?
No, just that baseball card. We're going to give that away next week. Next week we're going to actually talk about my team. We talked about your team. We had our wonderful guest, Emily Nyman. Thank you so much for coming on. Why don't you actually go ahead and plug your podcast, because I did it for you at the beginning, but you can do it.
We put out episodes every Saturday. It's usually they're no more than an hour, and they're amazing and they're funny and will make you think, they'll make you laugh. And you can find us on Twitter at BreakBallsPod. And I hope anyone who's listening, if you haven't heard the show, that you just give it a chance, because all you have to do is listen to one and you'll be hooked. I promise.
Absolutely.
And if you're feeling brassy, call the Break Balls pod. What is it? The call line?
If you the Breaking Balls hotline.
Yeah, there you go.
What's that number in case anybody wants to call in?
It's 631-820-7377.
Awesome. Give that a call. Leave a voicemail. They'll answer your questions on the next podcast. So that's going to do it for us, guys.
We have been just informed that there's an unknown virus that's attacking all clubs. Symptoms appear to be heavy breathing, while dancing, coughing. So when you hear the sound, run for cover, motherfucker.
So with that, thank you to Emily Nyman for coming on from Breaking Balls Podcast, for joining us, talking about all the things New York Yankees. Be sure to tune in next week, as the team we have is Brad's team, the Boston Red Sox, and we will have on Terry Cushman from the Bastards of Boston Baseball joining us at our regular scheduled time next Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Thank you, Emily, for coming on and talking Yankees baseball with us. We appreciate it. Thanks
so much for having me. I had an awesome time. Hopefully I can come do it again.
Absolutely. Anytime. Brad, thank you so much for everything. Thoroughly appreciate. I butchered that. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're saying enough throughout the months, so
that's a difference. That's a different episode, guys. Remember to catch the podcast on all the major podcast platforms: Apple, Google, and Spotify. Subscribe, rate, and review. Let us know how we're doing. That's gonna do it for us, guys. Take care.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Rip Griffin Show. Make sure to subscribe to the show on all the major podcast platforms. Follow Rip on Twitter at RipGriffin2.